It is a challenge as a communications person, like, okay, who's our target audience? The answer is, well, it depends. Depends where you're at, depends on the market you're serving.
In terms of tradespeople, how are you training them? What do you think about that industry, right? In terms of the tradespeople?
The public school system bought the building and made a leap saying, okay, we have clear job needs in this wonderful community. We have 6 career pathways. DSG stepped in and said, hey, we would like to sponsor one of these career pathways because distribution is not talked about in our public schools. You know, if you want to become a doctor, lawyer, an engineer, great. But I fully believe as a liberal arts person myself, I do believe in that education. But as far as career planning, you need to at least make kids aware of all the options. Our marketing strategy is re-examining the channels and really trying to drill down where is our target customer when, and you do need that core brand foundation to stand on, but you need to be nimble enough to flex and sell to different levels of people and sell to different generations especially.
How can we learn from the leaders, educators, and experts in our industry? What can we take away from their successes and failures? How can we apply this to our businesses, our careers, and our lives? This is what we are here to find out. I'm your host, Karthik Chidambaram, CEO of DC Cap. We make systems, talk to each other for manufacturers and distributors. I love to learn and share the knowledge with others. This podcast is about having meaningful conversations that we can all learn from. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. We are joined by Cole Mercier, Communications Manager at DSG. Cole, thank you so much for joining me on this show, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
So Cole, you are the Communications Manager at DSG. What exactly is your role? I'm just trying to understand, what does a Communications Manager do at a distribution company?
Well, it's evolved pretty quickly from the day I joined in 2022. I joined as a communications strategist, and what does that mean? I report to our chief people officer and am responsible for internal communications to our employee owners, our biggest stakeholders, and also deal with a lot of community engagement and culture related things. But as the role has grown, we saw a huge gap in external communications and internal communications meeting in the middle to align with marketing strategy as well as people strategy. So I adopted the role of communications manager and now deal with a lot of the external pieces as well, with media inquiries and government relations and things like that.
So DSG is a 100-plus-year-old company, completely employee-owned.
Yes.
For the audience who are not very familiar with DSG, can you tell us, what do you guys do?
Sure. So we're a wholesale distributor in the upper Midwest, headquartered in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, but we've got locations all the way from Kalispell, Montana, all the way to Detroit, Michigan, with 62 locations and counting. Latest state is Illinois and Wyoming. We're excited to keep growing. We just keep adding. It's fun. So what do we distribute? We are in electrical, we're in HVAC, we're in plumbing, we're in waterworks. We deal with a lot of municipalities. We're in industrial automation. We're in all sorts of different fields. So that makes us a really diversified wholesaler. It is a challenge as a communications person, like, okay, who's our target audience? The answer is, well, it depends. Depends where you're at, depends on the market you're serving. We serve both rural and urban areas, and that in and of itself is a challenge as well, but also a super exciting opportunity to serve such a vast array of people in the upper Midwest.
And who are the customers who are generally buying from you, right? Is it the contractors, or are there other distributors buying from DSG, or who's your typical customer?
It varies based on, the branch, but for the most part, it is tradespeople, the people doing the work, the people who need parts to start their day, the people who don't have their own facility to store materials, maybe, and, the majority of our customer base too are, small family-owned businesses. Maybe they have a van or two, or, a pickup truck to go do their work. They don't have a place to store everything they need for each day's job. So we do deliver to job sites too and deal with the contractors, but our tradespeople are our bread and butter.
And for people who are trying to understand distribution, now you talked about tradespeople, so they can even go to Home Depot and buy it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead they choose to come to DSG. Why is that?
I would say it comes down to our in-house expertise. A lot of the folks at our counter sales area, our, at the city desk, our outside sales account managers, even our inside sales, who are more in an office setting, they more often than not came from backgrounds in that trade. And if they didn't, they learn really quick and they become subject matter experts because they're getting direct training from manufacturers. They're getting direct training from their peers who have worked those jobs in the past. So you can't go to Home Depot. And yes, there are brilliant and smart people at Home Depot. Speaking as a first-time homeowner and having questions myself, I'm not handy at all. But when it comes to these niche trades and these very, very complicated processes, you have to ask and rely on someone you can trust and someone, despite pricing or even online experience, you do need to talk to a person to solve a very, very niche problem you're not going to always be able to solve by Googling it or walking into a store and asking a more generalized, broader audience customer service desk. Those folks can be really helpful, but you don't know exactly who's on shift and who's going to be helpful. DSG, it's a more consistent experience with having experts in the room, having experts that have your back, and people who can really translate from some of the manufacturers, especially from an engineering standpoint, who can turn it into plain English, who can turn it into something that is digestible, and having someone you can work with is super important.
So the product knowledge is the key, and that's what people come to DSG for. So in terms of tradespeople, how are you training them, or how are you? What do you think about that industry, right? In terms of the tradespeople, I know DSG also sponsors trade schools and helps with that. Can you tell us your role there, and how is that generational shift happening right now, right? And with respect to tradespeople, what are you seeing in the market?
Sure. So let's go back to investing in the younger generation first. DSG has had a scholarship program since 2009, and we offer scholarships through our generous donor base. Scholarships to trade schools, 2-year degrees, apprenticeships within our 10-state footprint. And it can be for pretty much any trade, even the ones we don't directly serve per se. So that's number one. Number two, we sponsor a career academy in Western Minnesota that really isn't one of a kind. It used to be a Sam's Club of all places that shut down. And the public school system bought the building and made a leap saying, okay, we have clear job needs in this wonderful community, and we have 6 career pathways. DSG stepped in and said, hey, we would like to sponsor one of these career pathways because distribution is not talked about in our public schools. Distribution is not present even in trades-focused curriculum or logistics or transportation. So we actually got distribution as a label on one of the career pathways. And that to us is one of a kind and a model we support. We're only a couple of years into the investment, but we're already seeing, these kids, these high schoolers being able to have hands-on experience and exposure to distribution as an industry, as an option. We talk about, being part of the cutting edge, being part of the AI revolution, being part of EV infrastructure build out, right? You don't have to be an energy engineer or a software developer to be involved in these fields. You can work in distribution and have exposure to all these different things, learn a lot along the way. And frankly, that doesn't require a 4-year degree always. You surely can. I went that route and I ended up in an industry I really like.
So in terms of the workforce, do you see a lot of people taking up trade schools, and do you see the workforce growing?
Well, I don't know if anyone else is a follower of Mike Rowe. I'm not an avid listener, but do tune in sometimes. He's been advocating for this stuff for years. That's honestly where part of the scholarship program we established kind of came from, that kind of era, late 2000s. Hey, no one's talking about the trades anymore. Trades aren't cool. Why is our public school system not encouraging this more? But I don't know about you, but I'm starting to see a reverse in the shift. Part of it is the expense of college going way up. Part of it is jobs. You invest in a 4-year degree. If you want to become a doctor, lawyer, an engineer, great. But and I fully believe, as a liberal arts person myself, I do believe in that education. But as far as career planning, you need to at least make kids aware of all the options And I think trade school is becoming part of the mainstream dialogue again, which is super encouraging to see. I'm not saying, what DSG's done, in our pocket, in our community, has, directly caused that, but there certainly is a correlation where, more companies are doing more of these programs, or they're giving back, they're investing more into the younger generation. I think that's having a ripple effect across, our schools, the online dialogue, the media dialogue. Trades to me are cool again. And you see apps and tools, and technology certainly plays a piece in that too. The internet's opened so many imaginations to what people can do with their life, and how to build a good one.
I like your thought process here, where you can still be a part of the revolution. You can be a part of the AI revolution or the EV revolution, but you don't have to be really writing code if that's something you don't like. You can up your trade skills and still be a part of the revolution. I think that's a great thought process, and I totally resonate with that. In terms of communication, so there is a big young generation slowly getting there to the workforce. How are you communicating to them in terms of marketing? Is there anything you're doing? How are you leveraging social channels? How are you leveraging videos, YouTube, which is a big thing these days?
One thing I think distributors get wrong right away, and I mean, this is guilty across a bunch of industries too, of not trying to dunk on distribution. Make your website mobile friendly. If your customers are the people out on the job, they don't have a desktop computer with them in their truck. You need to make your website friendly for a phone experience, an iPad mini, or whatever they have out on the job. So if they're going to be able to find you, they need to be able to actually navigate your website. As far as a social media piece, different channels, different audiences, different struggles. If you're only focused on, I guess the more traditional corporate channels like, LinkedIn, Facebook, those are all great to have. But where are your actual customers? If some of them, especially the older generations, are on Facebook, that's great. You need to adjust your message a little bit. If you're a millennial, the customers are on Instagram, that's great too. But as far as short form content, you need to explore more niches like TikTok, Trade Hounds, and other experiences that are a bit more peer driven and a little less company driven. And all of these sites too have opportunities to sponsor, and not just in terms of the traditional target, retarget, search ads. You don't have to go that route. They're a part of the ecosystem. They're part of, they're one of your 7 touch points that they say you have to do. But, partnering with influencers, partnering with people who your customer base can trust, especially the younger demographic, is super important. And staying local too. You don't have to always sponsor someone who's the most popular on this whatever app. You should partner with people who are valued in the local market that you serve. Whether it's a current customer or someone you're trying to win over, maybe you can sponsor their training. Maybe you can sponsor their furthering of their education to learn a certain product line. They don't have to be a loyal customer who's been with you for 20 years. Although getting them on camera too would be a really fun way to bring all these people together. So as far as, our marketing strategy is re-examining the channels and really trying to drill down, where is our target customer when? And you do need that core brand foundation to stand on, but you need to be nimble enough to flex and sell to different levels of people and sell to different generations, especially.
Yeah, be hyperlocal. I think that's a very smart way to do it, right? So instead of spending thousands and thousands of dollars and getting a big influencer, sponsor local communities. That's a great strategy. I would like to end with this question, Cole. What book are you reading right now?
So I'm actually part of a leadership cohort with the University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota. It's called Leadership North Dakota. It's kind of our statewide leadership program, and they're having us, I guess, for some of us, reread The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's a classic. It's great. I think it's timeless. I read it in college, as one does sometimes. And at the time, it didn't really offer me much because, my frontal lobe had not quite developed quite yet. But rereading it now with a group of peers, I have Audible. I like to listen to it, and I also like to read the physical book too. And that one is a timeless classic. So anything has stood the test of time. It's not just another gimmick. This is a book that you read, but you do reread in different chapters of your life, and you put it back on the shelf. You don't return it. You don't, donate it. You hold on to something like that. And the one that pairs really well with it is probably Atomic Habits. They kind of take the why behind the 7 habits, and they do the what. How do you actually do this? What are different things you can do to make these 7 habits come to life? And that's what Atomic Habits does. Beyond that, reading a 4-part book series. It's more of a thriller mystery that kind of brings back that classic detective story that I think we've all been hungry for a while, especially younger guys like me. I never thought I'd read fiction again. I thought I had my fill, but When Christmas Comes by Andrew Clavin is a really great book, and you can read any one in the 4-part series by him and kind of work your way backwards. But that is a really great thematic book series I would recommend to any young person, any old person, anyone who just wants a classic mystery thriller.
Younger guys like us. That's right. No, I think it's very interesting, right? I mean, I can really relate to what you said. I mean, it's nice that you read both fiction and nonfiction. And also when you read nonfiction, it really depends on the time you're reading it, right? So sometimes you read something like you talked about, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah, you read it then, not everything gets into your head. But at a later stage in your career, when you start rereading it, you're able to understand and appreciate it more. I can totally relate to that. Cole, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining our Driven by DC Cap podcast. Your support means a lot to us. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button and subscribe. Consider leaving us a review. Thank you for joining us.